Empowerment is from the inside out. Empowerment is no matter what size we are, no matter what gender we are, no matter what, how much struggle we've all had, and we all have that. We are all sexy and we are all brilliant.
Welcome to yourbrilliance.com. I'm your host, Amy Waterman. Have you ever felt judged for how you look? Of course you have. That's just part of being a woman. People look at us and they immediately make judgments about who we are and what we're capable of based on our appearance. So no wonder we end up spending so much time choosing the right clothes and dieting and choosing the right makeup because we intuitively know that looking better makes life easier. Well, our guest for today, Devina Kaur, has a different perspective. Devina is the author of the book, Too Fat, Too Loud, Too Ambitious. You may have seen our previous interview with Devina where she talked about her sexy, brilliant global revolution. Devina was born in India and moved to Canada where she had an arranged marriage to please her parents and a successful career in the finance industry. Then her world fell apart. Her marriage ended, she left her job, and she embarked on a journey of self-discovery that taught her some of the hard-earned wisdom she's going to share with us today. Welcome, Devina.
Hi, everybody. Great to be here. Thank you, Amy.
So we're just going to get right into the tough stuff. You were told growing up that you were too fat, and I think a lot of women have been told this, or if they haven't been told it straight out, it's been implied. So what does it mean to be a woman who takes up space?
So growing up, as I grew up in India and very conservative family, my parents were born in Pakistan. They became refugees to India. So I grew up with this mentality where I was told, stop eating, because if you're too fat, nobody is going to want to marry you, which meant that nobody would love you based on your size. And, and it's my parents, but it's also a cultural thing. So and I'm not here to blame my parents. I'm not here to tell them what they did right or wrong. But it's about a cultural thing that we have where if you're too fat, you are unworthy of love. And it just breaks my heart that we have to raise our daughters like that, because men are not told that. Does a man ever hear that you're too fat? If you don't lose weight, you're not going to be worthy of love.
He's a big cuddly bear if he puts on weight.
Yeah, so it's specifically this fat shaming. It starts at a young age, and it's said it again and again, and I have also said this to my daughter: stop eating, you're going to put on too much weight. And it's just shocking that I've repeated exactly the same thing that has happened to me growing up. And this is how the subconscious works, right? So I'm here sharing this message with you, but on the other hand, the reality is the subconscious is so deep that it takes a lot of mindfulness to get over that and not repeat the same mistakes that our parents repeated.
And one of the problems too is the fact that it's gone hand in hand with health. And I just want to say today, this is not a conversation about whether obesity contributes to poor health outcomes. This is a conversation about self-image. But we are also shamed by our doctors. And so as parents, when we look at our kids putting on weight, we hear the stories about childhood obesity. What are we supposed to do?
It's an epidemic. It's an epidemic because the root cause of this is that message that you're too fat and you're not worthy of love is just saying to us that stop loving yourself because you're not worthy of love. So there's a lot of confusing messages, and by no means am I saying that put on weight or go into unhealthy eating patterns. That's not what I'm saying. I myself am a recovering bulimic. So on the one part, there was my parents and my society and school and high school where you're told you're too fat, stop eating. Your gym teacher saying the same thing, your class teacher saying the same thing, and then you hear the same messages at home. And then the other part of me is where I'm hiding and I'm eating food to manage my emotions. So nobody is giving us tools to love ourselves as we are. And this is the point, that we are not told that we're told we're not worthy of love based on our size, our image, our long nose, short hair, big breasts, whatever it is. And it's a really sad point in our lives that we're here.
And also, not just in terms of being loved, but also in the workplace. There is a lot of evidence that being beautiful does actually mean you'll earn more money over a lifetime. And I know professionally, you really put yourself out there professionally, and you have gotten some backlash for your appearance, not your message.
So yesterday I checked LinkedIn, and I have a big social media following, and LinkedIn's very big as well. And some third degree connections wrote on my post, lose weight, or you're too fat, or cover your breast or something. And I was like, I looked at this and I was like, why are these men, particularly men, commenting about my size, my body, my dress way or method of dressing? Who are these people? And it just, I burst into tears. I was upset about something else, and this just rattled me, and I was like, oh man. But then, so the first reaction, of course, is pain, and but then we have to move away from that, and we have to ask ourselves, why does this continue to happen?
So you have actually, one of the things I really admire about you is you totally put yourself out there on social media. You post glamorous, gorgeous pictures of yourself. And we all know social media, as you found out with LinkedIn, can be really catty and judgmental, but you keep putting these beautiful images of yourself out there. So you've clearly figured something out about loving your body.
Well, it's taken me a lot of work to be here. And I say work, I mean, there's been a lot of darkness. There's been like, I've wanted to kill myself because of my size, and I've said, I'm too fat, nobody's gonna love me. And that was my messaging. But then to move away from that and to connect with the spiritual brilliance that we're all gifted with, which says that we are all unique, beautiful souls, and we need to admire that about ourselves. And first, of course, there's self-knowledge, to say that who am I? Am I this fat person that my parents have told me, that my teachers have told me, that I get at workplace? Or am I a divine creature who is so blessed to be born as a human being? So moving away from those messages and coming back to our authentic self-knowledge, and then there's radical self-acceptance. And that's the key, radical self-acceptance. Ladies, the way people judge us, they will continue to judge us, but we must accept ourselves for who we are. And that means our size, our body image, our brilliance, our intelligence, our gifts. And I know, Amy, you have lots to say about this. Tell us.
Well, first of all, I think this is a perfect segue. There are people watching this who haven't seen our previous interview on Sexy Brilliance. Could you just briefly tell us a little bit about the Sexy Brilliant Global Revolution? Because I think it matters.
So Sexy Brilliant comes across from my years of struggle, my years of wanting to please other people, family, husband, my in-laws, my work, my surrounding. And I did everything by the book. I was the perfect girl. I have a bunch of 10 university degrees. I had a big investment banking job. But in the inside, I was very, very unhappy. I was suicidal, depressed, in a lot of darkness. And after my marriage ended, my arranged marriage ended, I went into this phase of a dating addiction. And an addiction is something, the reason I'm sharing this with you is because it's so, we hide behind our shame. We hide alone. But I'm sharing this to empower you and people listening in, and to say, we no longer have to be ashamed of who we are. So, this is who it is. This is who I am. This is my reality. So as I was struggling with wanting somebody to love me, and somebody would send me a text message and they'd be asking me, how are you? And I'd be like, always sexy, always brilliant. So it was like an affirmation that always sexy, always brilliant. Exactly opposite of being told who I was, right? Like, sexy is a bad word. Brilliant, don't be too intelligent. Don't be too ambitious. you're a woman. Nobody's gonna love you if you're, if you're, nobody's gonna like you if you're too ambitious or too intelligent. And this is exactly what happened to me. And I was like, I'm sexy, I'm brilliant. And then through this time, I was also going through a lot of therapy. My marriage had ended. I was alone. I was lonely, miserable, raising a child, and through a lot of coaching, therapy. And then I was like, it just kind of came together in coaching and through therapy. Started by, and this again for the women who are in business, who are thinking about business, I had no idea what I was doing. So the first thing I did is got the domain name. And guess what? sexybrilliant.com was available. And from there, it's just been a little, step of empowerment. So empowerment from the inside out. That's what Sexy Brilliant is all about.
And what I love is that being sexy has nothing to do with how you look and everything to do with how you feel.
Yeah, sexy is daring. Sexy is daring to, show up for ourselves, show up. And Amy, you asked me, why am I sharing pictures of myself? And, I have a lot of, as you know, there's a lot of social media following, which is wonderful, but I also have to be authentic. This is the fattest I've ever been in my life. I've struggled with depression in the last year, and I had a death in the family, I had a business failure, and this is the fattest I've ever been. But I'm the same person that I was when I was thinner. So, I want to share myself for who I am authentically, and to inspire people who are there watching me, watching the Sexy Brilliant Global Revolution, learning from me. And if I don't do that, then I'm just being inauthentic.
Mm-hmm. Well, judging people on their appearance is a cheap shot. And in some ways, when I think about how we can understand how it works for men, if you threaten a man's sense of masculinity, you say you're not a man, they feel so threatened. This is our kind of destiny, is that the way we feel threatened is not, if somebody say you're not a woman, well, duh, I'm a woman, I got the right parts. We don't really feel it in the same way. But when somebody says you're unattractive, that's what goes straight to our sense of self-worth as a woman. Whereas you could tell a guy he's unattractive, that's fine. But if you tell him he's not a man, that's what threatens his sense of self.
And for men, it's about how much money they make, right? Like, or what kind of a car they have. So we all have, all genders have this battle where we're trying to fit in, trying to please other people, trying to kind of live the normal. But the question is, we're disconnecting from our authentic self. We're disconnecting from our spiritual self. So that's really important, to come back to our, the little child that we are, the gifts that we have, and practice authenticity, which comes from self-knowledge.
So I want to ask you, let's go back to that situation on LinkedIn where you got those messages. What advice would you give for women who are getting snarky comments, either on social media, in the workplace, basically in inappropriate places, about their appearance? How would you recommend they react?
Well, so there's a few things, right? Like, something that we have to do as women and men is to protect ourselves. So the first thing is, if it's at work and somebody's making a sexual comment, sexual, innuendo or whatever, we need to protect ourselves. So document everything, number one. Number two, in fact, at work, you need to find multiple people to report to, because it happens that HR is too closely connected with the boss. They don't take an action because they're scared to lose their own job. So we need to protect ourselves. So if you have therapy through Access to Work, connect with them, speak to them, find confident people you can confide in, pardon me. And then, do not be afraid to stand up for yourself. So that's really important, because what we women do is we are afraid to make a fuss. We are afraid of losing our job, because we do have mouths to feed, right? We have responsibility. So of course we have that fear. But the thing is, we are also examples to our children. We are examples to our colleagues. We are examples to each other. And if we women support each other, we can eradicate this problem. It's an epidemic. We can eradicate this epidemic by just being so strong in and having faith in ourselves. That's what it is, faith in ourselves. And coming back to that work, if it ever happens at work, we also have to make sure that everything is in writing, social media, HR. Find the people you can trust, find many of those and confide in them. And this is what I did with LinkedIn. When this happened to me, I made a social media post of it, and I tagged everybody that I knew, literally everybody that I knew, because I was like, this is something I need support in. So again, support, which means therapy. In my case, it was LinkedIn. Then finding the right people to help you. So my friends on LinkedIn helped me. They supported me when I was going through an emotional trauma. And this is what we need. We need support at all times of our lives. We need to find the right people to support us. And of course, what I did is when I posted on LinkedIn, I blocked the names of all these people who were messaging me, because, it's self-protection, but also I do not want to give them the notoriety.
Notoriety. Mm-hmm.
And that's notoriety
Mm-hmm.
of becoming popular or being stalked or being bullied because of me, because that is also part of my responsibility.
Yeah. So I just want to say one of the things that I have done, because I think this is so important because one of the things I've seen, so you have lived in various countries, I've lived all over the world. And one of the things I really see is that beauty is cultural. And when I lived in South America, if a woman got married where I lived and she didn't get fat, everybody was coming to the husband and saying, are you beating your wife because she's still so skinny? Because why isn't she putting on weight? So one of the great things that I have learned to do with my daughter, is, I tell my daughter who I think the two most beautiful women in the world are. And I really believe this with my whole heart and soul. I believe one of the most beautiful women in the world, I love looking at pictures of her, is Ashley Graham, the plus size model. I just could stare at her for ages. She's beautiful. So I got her memoir and I showed it to my daughter, said, this is one of the two most beautiful people in the world. And then I got, and this might be a bit of a surprise, Michelle Obama's memoir, Becoming. And I showed this to my daughter and I said, this is the second most beautiful woman in the world, because look at that. So when my daughter hears me say things like that, I do have women's magazines around the house that show the skinny models, but I say to my daughter, I say, these women are beautiful. And my daughter, she's like, I don't see that, but I like, they are, trust me, these are beautiful women. So I think that's something we can do too for our kids.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the other things I want to just briefly touch upon is to move away from the outer beauty and come to the inner beauty. So I with my daughter, so of course there's things that happen in school and we discuss it, and then I take her to task, and of course gently, and I'm like, but you are judging somebody based on how they look. You are judging somebody based on what your XYZ friends said. So I want you to practice non-judgmental, and I want you to kind of ask yourself, are you getting influenced by the people around you, by the children around you, versus are you making a judgment call for yourself? So just raising children with a little bit more of that spiritual, spiritual children, where they're not so much based on the size, the looks, but coming back to their, the gifts that each of us have, living unapologetically, and also to kind of give them that emotional intelligence to not judge a book by its cover.
Yes. Judge people by how they treat others first. So my daughter is in second grade right now, and she came home one day and there's this girl in her class who's not very nice. And she said, Mommy, she said, this girl called the girl ahead of us in the lunch line fat and made her cry. Sick. This is second grade. There's fat shaming. And I happened to come into the classroom a while ago and I could immediately spot the girl who had been fat shamed. And she's a larger girl and she's already beaten down. She, you know, you can see the little confident kids, you know, looking at all the adults and the ones who are just looking down. And I thought, already it's begun.
Second grade. Yeah, second grade. And this is what, you know, this happens because there's a lot of this going on at home, right? I did it subconsciously where I told my daughter, stop eating, you're going to get fat. And it was horrifying. You cannot imagine how horrifying it was for me. And then of course my daughter took me to task, right? She's like, Mommy, how dare you speak to me like this? So that was great that she had the tools to stand up for herself. And this is what we want. We want our children, we want to give them tools. We want to empower them. We want to encourage them to be kind, gentle, be decision makers. You know, give them tools so that they don't make the mistakes that we did, or my parents did, or your parents did.
Yeah, and that's how we change. That's how we start the sexy, brilliant revolution in our children.
Well, we don't associate children with sexy, brilliant.
Not quite yet. Well, someday I'm going to be honest, girls need it. You know, my daughter, another funny story. My daughter came home and said, "Watch this, Mommy. I learned how to shake my booty."
Oh my gosh.
So I think it cannot start soon enough, can it?
Well, you know, and again, I'm in the midst of it. I have a daughter, so I kind of have to be careful. So one of the things that we're doing is I'm not sharing pictures of my daughter on social media, you know, because it's sexy brilliant. So I want to protect her for as long as I can, which is what we parents want to do. But the thing is, the other thing is that, you know, when we are watching or reading magazines and listening to music, we want to be careful of what we are as celebrities sharing. So when celebrities are listening to me, be careful of what you're sharing. If you're going to be using the swear words, the unkind words, guess what? We're going to start repeating that. So it comes with responsibility to show up. And this comes back to why am I sharing pictures of myself? Because empowerment is from the inside out. Empowerment is no matter what size we are, no matter what gender we are, no matter what, you know, how much struggle we've all had, and we all have that. We are all sexy and we are all brilliant.
Woohoo! So for those of you watching, I know that you want to learn more about the Sexy Brilliant Global Revolution, and we have a link for you. Just go to yourbrilliance.org/Devina. That's yourbrilliance.org/DEVINA. Thank you so much for coming back on, Devina, and sharing some more of your insights with us. And I wondered if you had any last message you would like to leave our viewers with.
So each of us is unique. Each of us is gifted. And stand in front of the mirror. If you doubt yourself, stand in front of the mirror and admire little things about yourself. You know, the nose, the eyes, the hair pulled back, 2 flowers in your hair, whatever it is, it takes to make you feel sexy. And we all have the strength within us. So one of the things that I actually write about this is phototherapy. So take a camera, take pictures. You don't have to share them, but take pictures and be proud of who you are as you are. And that's a gift in itself.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And thank you out there for watching. We hope to see you again soon. Until then, let your brilliance shine.